Hey guys, my name is Andrew and I'm the stream manager for Spikeball. I just wanted to share a couple things before we get started. First, if you could make sure that you're following us by pressing the follow button at the top of the stream, then you'll get notified every time we go live or release any future content. If you do miss any of our streams or content that we release, we're uploading them all to our YouTube channel after each stream. That YouTube channel is youtube.com/Spikeball Roundnet Association. If you go to the About section of our channel here on Twitch, you'll find a list of chat commands. Those chat commands can be used anytime during the stream. They'll bring up some helpful links like the SRA Facebook group or things like that. So feel free to use those whenever you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in chat.
What is up, everyone? This is Logan here. We got Jacob Payer, Noah Luskis, and Frederick Hinkle, and we're here with the, I believe, third week of the Spike at Home series. And tonight we're going to be going over some college club stuff, revealing a college bracket, and then doing some roundnet organization talk. So we're excited to have y'all here. We're excited to have all these guys. I got Jacob from Cal Poly, Noah from UGA, and then Frederick from Texas A&M. Pumped to have y'all on. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Doing pretty good. Yeah.
Good. So tonight we're going to talk about a few different college things. Obviously, y'all are all run solid clubs. You've all had success. Last year, y'all were actually the top 3 teams in the club bracket of the college tournament, with UGA taking first, A&M second, and then Cal Poly third. A&M here the only one without any China trophy, as Cal Poly won the individual bracket. Sorry to throw you under the bus, Frederick. But yeah, so we kind of want to ask some questions about just competitive, how y'all get better, how do you build your clubs, how do you get your clubs to be more open for newer people, and then we'll take some questions from the chat as well. But I'll kind of start out with Noah, you with UGA. Y'all have had a solid club for a while now. You've had several different leaderships, but you being the president coming up next year, inheriting it from Brandon, how has it kind of been with UGA, seeing that transition of leadership and kind of changing, and the system's still working, the system's still running, and y'all competing every year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything we honestly started with Ben Landez. If you've been in the scene for a while, you definitely know he started our club, and not only did he do a great job of developing us into great, he did a really good job of developing us and making sure that he was putting us in a good position to be successful down the road. And I think one of the big things that to make sure that our transition from president to president, captain group to captain group, is that we do our elections really, really early. In January of every year. And we're not just picking the captains, we're let the team elect everybody that they feel deserves to be a captain. We don't want to have a set of leaders that we don't feel like our members respect. So we let them pick and we let them vote on the president of the club as well. But we do a lot of things in that second semester to let our new captains really shadow what our current captains are doing. And mostly that's with our compliance stuff with our club sports department, because there's a lot of stuff that we have to go through. We have a really strict club sports department, which is a blessing and kind of a pain at the same time. There's a lot of stuff we have to do, but it keeps us really organized and it makes sure we're doing the right things. Like one of the biggest things I think we have to do is our budget proposal. And I'm the treasurer this year, so I went through that. Brandon and I went through that.
Fun.
But we got to let our next treasurer, we let him sit in on us while we're making the budget, while we were doing our proposal via Zoom the other day, and stuff like that. We do that with all of our captains, like is passing down his position to Kyle's younger brother, Cade. And I know that he's given him the rundown on everything that he's supposed to be to make sure that we're staying compliant with our. And I think when you set up like that, we have our captains be able to come in at the beginning of every school year, know what they're supposed to do, know what's expected of them as captains, and then that way we can do a lot more focusing on starting to develop our new players as soon as we get back to school instead of trying to get our stuff in.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I think that's good info, especially for developing a system. Y'all have been a system for a long time, so that's exciting to see. And then Jacob, for you, y'all are kind of, I guess in comparison, a newer club, but y'all came on the scene fast and y'all became competitive pretty quickly. What would you say is kind of the key for developing like such a strong club so quickly and becoming a name on the scene in really a few years?
Yeah, totally. For us, we were kind of blessed like right away as soon as we started the club here at Cal Poly. Like years ago, Buddy Hammond, I believe, like came up to Slow and threw like a tournament here, and so like that was back in maybe like 2014 or 15, and so that was just early on, and a lot of I'd say seniors and juniors were like kind of involved with that before I was even a student here. Um, and then once I became a student in 2016, uh, Jacob Martinez and myself were would play around a lot just because we were on the hype train of like getting like into college, and it's just like, oh my gosh, we're here.
Yeah.
Eventually, we knew that there wasn't a club here, and people were like trying to start it from time to time, but never really like executing it. And so I was like, dude, like let's try to do this. Like, and so during that year, we had been talking to a lot of the upperclassmen who were involved with different organizations as well as like Greek life even. And that spring quarter, because we're on the quarter system, so that spring quarter we were able to partner up with one of the sororities here on campus and do like an event for them. They're like, oh my gosh, is there like a club here for this? And at that point, like Jacob and I were like, not really. Like we had like kind of like hopes of like growing it. And then the next year when we were sophomores, that's kind of when we jumped the gun and became an RSO, which is a recognized student organization, at least on our campus. And then we had like a few hundred signups like on our like club fair showcase day. And we're like, holy crud, like that's so many going on. And so like our first few meetings that we had, which we scheduled for to have on like Friday afternoons when people were like out of class, when they had time to kick it, and when the weather was adequate enough. And we like the first few weeks of it, we had at least like 60 to 100 people come in and out. Like we're like we don't have enough sets for this at all. Like this is just like this is crazy. And so when with that year, we had Sam Buckman who came along. So there's notables within the community that were in California that came to our school and for the pursuit of their degree, as well as being able to play roundnet, which is great.
It's nice.
And then we kind of struggled with some people coming or with administrative kind of issues in the sense of like professors not really wanting to be part of the organization, help running it. And so with that, I would try to give advice to anybody trying to start a club or trying to commit to keeping a club by reaching out to the people or the faculty in the school, because I've talked to my advisor for our club multiple times this quarter. Not this quarter exactly, but last quarter when we were like growing and when we were approaching nationals, and just being like, hey, like just wanted to catch up with you, make sure everything's good with you, because that's kind of how our school basis works for organizations. And then in regards to the growth of us, myself being able to play a lot more, we ended up doing a co-op program with the community college that's local here, Cuesta College. It's a couple miles away, and a lot of students from there, student athletes use our facilities, and then a lot of students from there end up transferring here anyways. And one of the notables, Warren Foote, kind of blew up in the Spikeball community as well. Having him go to Cuesta was also a blessing because we had students from Cuesta being able to play with us, and we had students here on campus. So it's just getting a diverse community within this city because it's not huge, nor is it small by any means. And
cool.
Yeah, that's kind of our growth within the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's awesome because y'all like as opposed to like UGA where they're like churning out, like they got a new president, they got lots of people who want to be the president, so like they're doing elections and doing that over. That's like one way that the clubs are growing and developing. Then y'all started from scratch and you kind of had to figure it out. And even on the whole point of having an advisor, like I still contact my advisor from where I went to school and started a club every now and then. And now obviously I'm not running the club there anymore. We'll get to that in a second, but he's a contact for me. So even for like the grander scheme of life, like building that, you develop these skills, and then that's a contact you have to reach out. And I've had a few opportunities just to connect with the advisor from when I started the club, which has been great.
Yeah.
And so next we're gonna go to you, Fred. So you are kind of a little bit different. You started it on your own, kind of, but you more so kind of put together some pieces of a fallen empire, if you will. So what was it like? You obviously, Fred came over. He went to A&M. I graduated from A&M, and there was about a year where there was a president and it kind of fell apart afterward, and then Fred came in afterward and picked up the pieces. So what was it like coming into that where you knew there was a club and you wanted to get it going again? What was it like getting that started in that process, getting it going again?
Empire. Okay. When I got to A&M, nobody played, nobody did anything. So, I mean, it was kind of easy for me in terms of the advisor aspect because I got to cheat in that scenario. So I essentially went to the same advisor that Logan had done, Mr. Hudson, and recruited the same dude. So he's still our advisor to this day. And we stole their constitution, which we still use to this day with maybe slight edits. For me to found it, it was actually pretty funny though, because we were already listed on all of their software. They didn't really want to let us found this club that already exists but doesn't exist, but on electronics does exist, and we aren't authorized to found this club. So, I mean, there was some fun bureaucracy. We got to fill out some forms, and then they decided that they would let us be a club. So essentially, I wound up doing the process almost twice, but it wasn't hard. It was a really simple process, so it was no real struggle at A&M at least. I don't know. For us, we founded our RSO, had our advisor, and started hosting tournaments.
And then how did you use that to kind of, obviously, like we said, y'all are a powerhouse. Y'all were a projected top seed in college nationals this year, and Jacob kind of touched on how they built their club, and Noah as well. How did y'all kind of get the club to build up and become what it is known as today?
So that part came relatively through Instagram actually. When you were here, Logan, you had created like the Instagram, the Twitter, all of the Texas A&M social media, and we recruit through our social media. So for us to become a powerhouse, it was essentially start posting on Insta, get people that say that they want to play, start playing on campus, find the people that want to play, and then host a big tournament. So we hosted our one big tournament, and I vividly remember to this day, one of our guys turned to me and looked at me and said, we'll never be this good, and or we're never going to be this good, whatever. And we're all way better than that. Everyone was that day at that tournament. So it's kind of that funny spot where we hosted that one tournament, and everybody had this extreme drive to just catch them. So what I would say for putting together a club is host the big tournament, get the good people in your area to come by, play, lose. I mean, you will lose. Trust me, if you get good people to come, and then try to catch them. And catching them is so much fun. That's where everybody wants to catch them and kind of puts that grind in. And the grind is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. What is, and I'll just stick with you since I have you on screen, and then I'll go back to you, Jacob. But what does kind of a practice look like, or what does the structure of your practice week look like for the Texas A&M Roundnet Club?
A&M, we have a pretty well-defined practice schedule, and all of our practices are pretty well structured. So we play Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday being like a specific practice only for the people that are going to college nationals in the spring. But in the fall, we do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, just because we found 3 days is kind of that perfect spot. We tried playing 4, we tried playing 5, and everybody got sore. Just didn't work.
Yeah.
So we wound up at 3 days just because everybody has plenty of time to recover and improve. We start every practice with the Atlas drill, and everybody does the Atlas drill for maybe 15 minutes.
Can you explain what that is, just if people haven't heard of that?
Yeah, the Atlas drill is really simple. You have two people that stand at the net and one person that is maybe 15 feet from the net, and you have a man hits the ball at the man away from the net, and the ball comes back to somebody at the net who passes it to his partner. The other person at the net sets him, and then that person who got the initial touch hits it back to the guy that's 15 feet away. And we do that for every practice. Just those first 15 minutes, kind of get everybody loose, hitting the ball, getting some sets in. That's how our practices start. So I say we play Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday are pretty much all games. We'll play games the whole time. But Monday is our drill day. So we do Mondays indoors, and
Awesome.
drill day is generally a long practice. And I mean, like, we usually start at 7 and the rec closes at midnight. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome.
That practice goes. And it starts out with the Atlas drill, and then we like to break out into settings. So one of our top players will sit there and go with some of the new people. So maybe it's Luke Marshall, maybe it's Rahul, and they'll work with them on setting. They'll work with them on hitting. They'll work with them on serving, how to do different things. So whatever one individual is really good at, he'll work with newer, growing players in those categories.
Just to clarify, is Rahul the good player, or is he the newer, growing player?
For the longest time, that line's been blurred, but after they beat me and Grant, he had to be considered a good player.
Love it. Love it.
But yeah, it's really this fun spot where everybody kind of breaks out into their own groups. We like to do this indoors in racquetball courts, just so you don't have to go pick up balls. But it's mostly a lot of just reps.
Yep.
The goal is to do as many reps as we can. We want you to make 100 sets. We want you to hit the ball 200 times standing at the net. I mean, we want you to be there actively getting reps. So getting reps is the real name of the game in those monster practices.
Awesome.
And people love it. You walk in on Monday, you don't know how to do something. You walk out on Monday and you've learned a new skill. It's so much fun.
That's great. Yeah. And I mean, drills, I find personally, really help hone those skills and make you a better player overall. It's fun playing, but you really see those strides when you play a lot more, when you drill a lot. And that's great. I think that's a great practice schedule, and I think that's something we're going to see a lot more prevalent throughout colleges that begin to grow. Jacob, kind of what does y'all's practice schedule look like? Similar, different? What's something y'all found really helpful?
I'd say it was a little bit different than what y'all did at Texas A&M. We had our designated time on Fridays for our students as like a general purpose club for people to just be informed, and if they want to know more information or if they want to play with their friends, myself and Warren have plenty of equipment, and so we're able to provide up to like, I think like 15 or 16 nets. And so it's just like we have a lot of the gear like covered in that sense. So it's like, hey, come out, like we will be here no matter what. Like unless we inform you otherwise via email or via Instagram, we're going to be out here on our practice turf. In regards to kind of the more, I guess, I try to not use the word exclusive.
Yeah.
But more of the serious members, I would say.
Yeah.
We, at the beginning of each quarter, I make sure that they send me their schedules, like that I get to know like when they're free and when they want to play. And with that regards, it's like, okay, it's on a messaging basis. It's like, hey, like how many can we get out at Wednesday at 6 p.m.? How many can we get out this Saturday or Sunday? With that regard, we could play any time between just once a week on that Friday, or there were periods of time, I think, leading up to the last sectional where we were playing 6 days a week because like
Awesome.
we all wanted to try to get our reps in, just as Frederick was saying. In regards to drilling and kind of technique and perfection of our skills or wise, I think our club had a wide range of people that had tournament experience, had different traits of the game that are a little bit stronger than others. So like myself, I kind of take after a Preston hard cut, hard server. Warren takes after a defensive mind like Jarrett, Rouse, and Sam is a really consistent hitter. And so having people that students get to look up to in the sense of like honing their skills is great because we get to show them how we improved. We get to recommend some videos to them, get to train with them. And something in practice that we try to take to every time we play is don't play with like the person that you are going to play with at a tournament. Try to play with everybody and everyone.
Yeah.
Unless it came down to like a couple days before like a big like sectional or a national tournament, then usually we would try to play with the people that we're going to play with in that tournament.
Yeah.
But having the variety of students and like also trying to develop like a co-ed scene
Cool.
or even just like a woman scene was something that was great that we had Joelle, who's part of who was a Cal Poly student as well. She came on the same year Sam did. And so getting women out here as well was something that I really enjoyed like to see. Having some lady ballers that were there's one student that was on the basketball team that came out a few times, and she was like surprisingly like really good.
That's
and
awesome.
Just getting that variety is something that I like to take into our club because if someone on campus is like, oh, like I heard there's like Spikeball club, yeah, like they have like these people, oh my god, like those guys like won a national tournament last year. Like having just like that variety is something that I want to see the growth of.
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
And I love how you pointed out that y'all have different skill levels, and so with that variety, newer players are going to learn those skill levels, and I think that's another great way of kind of teaching those techniques. And if you're mixing it up, and I know a lot of times people struggle with, hey, we want to have a competitive club, but there's a lot of people who are newer to the sport, and like that scares them off. And you pointed out how you have like the one day where everyone can come out and play, and it's more welcoming. I think that's a great way to get people to come out and join and be able to play without feeling intimidated. And then getting to play with those higher level players can be a lot of fun. It's like going and playing pickup basketball and getting to play with like LeBron for a little bit. So that's really cool.
Because I've talked to students that are like, yeah, like the reason like that we don't really come out as much is because like we don't want to get wrecked. And it's like, no, like that's not the purpose of like why I wanted to find this club. Like in our bylaws, like one of our first like mottos is just like inclusivity and openness to learning the sport. Like
awesome.
That's what we want to try to grow.
Yep.
So
that's great. Awesome. I'm gonna ask Noah this. You good? I know you're having some connectivity issues.
Yeah, it wasn't my internet. My computer is just frozen.
Oh man.
So now I'm on my phone.
All right, perfect.
Like I'm still looking at the screen. So,
perfect.
But I'm good now, I think.
That's a good looking shirt you got there. And just kind of want to ask you, what was last season like coming up to college nationals, and then what was the feeling after winning the club bracket on national television? Just how did that feel, and what was the experience like?
It was super humbling. It was super cool to obviously be able to host nationals in Athens, regardless of the result. And obviously the circumstances on Sunday weren't super great. Some nasty weather forced us inside. But fortunately, you guys at Spikeball and ESPN had a really good backup plan for us to allow us to continue to be able to play. So we were super grateful for that. But we were ready for that moment all season. That was a moment that we expected to be in. That was a moment that we were excited about getting to show off all the work that we had put in. And obviously, it was a really tough series with A&M. So the series that we were really fortunate to win. But honestly, afterwards, the feeling was just it was crazy. Like I said, we had worked not just that year, but the year before. That year before, we went up to Ohio State and got third, and I think it kind of left a sour taste in our mouth. Because we came up there expecting to win as well, because that's what we do. We put in work and we don't expect to do anything besides win. And then we started that next season on a mission, and we hadn't lost all year. We still haven't lost a tournament since 2017 Nationals.
That's awesome.
But it was definitely a great feeling, especially at being on TV. Definitely being on TV has been huge for us recruiting wise, for sure. We don't really have to recruit anymore. I feel like every time that thing re-airs. We get emails or DMs on Instagram on our club account or our personal accounts or whatever. We always have more people wanting to come out and play pickup, join the club. So it's been really awesome for the development of our club more than anything, I think.
And then for you going into next year, like coming into the president role, from being treasurer and like leading the club, like what are you most looking forward to? What are you excited about? Like how do you want to leave your mark on the club?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I want to keep up. A lot of things that our past presidents have done. Like I said, we've had some really great leadership that have done some really great things, and I certainly have some big shoes to fill in that regard. Obviously, I want to keep us competitive in the national scene. I know it's tough. We lost Addison and Min last year, two really great players, and we'll lose Patrick again this year. But next man up kind of mentality for us. Just getting everybody and the mindset that we need to put ourselves in the best position to go out and try to win another national championship. And then in terms of some other goals of mine, I definitely think increasing the diversity of our club. I know Jacob touched a little bit on getting the co-ed and women's scene going a little bit. That's a big goal of mine, is to increase our presence in the women's community. We actually had 6 girls on our team this year,
Awesome.
which was awesome. One of them actually was out of the country for study abroad during the spring semester. So we had 5 consistently at practice this last semester, but I want to keep getting that number up, keep making our place our club a place where women feel comfortable, where they feel invited, and they feel like they can come out and be a part of our club and be a successful part of our club, just like we have been in general.
Cool. Awesome. I'm going to go through some just quick fire questions, get some quick responses from y'all, and then we're going to go check out the bracket for the bracket challenge. We got you on, Noah, so with this first question, I'll give it to you, and I'll keep the answers quick and short. But
yeah,
obviously Nationals was supposed to be this weekend. Unfortunately, couldn't have it. Who was going to win club and who was going to win individual?
I guess that depends on if you want me to include myself and UJ or not. Obviously I feel confident that we were going to be able to come out and put on a good showing. It was going to be super tough. The 3 teams that are all sitting here are all really great teams. They have been the last 2 years. But I'll always go with my boys at Georgia for the club bracket. And then I think Patrick and I were going to surprise some people. I haven't been shy saying that to him, so I guess I won't be shy saying it to anybody else.
All right.
We've been putting in a lot of work, so I feel good about it.
So you got that UGA sweep of the podium. That's or of the first place.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
UGA
hearing.
sweep.
All right. Jacob, same question for you.
I would probably say any variation between myself and Warren, myself and Sam, or Warren and Sam would probably win individual.
All right.
And then as a club, oh gosh, I sure hope our boys would pull through and win. So obviously I'd probably say Cal Poly, but I think the biggest threat would be Texas A&M.
All right. So we got
honestly speaking.
So we got that. We got the Cal Poly first place for both for you as well. I'm seeing a trend going here. I can't wait to see what Fred's answer is.
Oh yeah.
All right, Fred. Now to you.
To go against everyone else, I think that we were going to, of course, destroy the club bracket and take first. I think we have done a great job recruiting, bringing in new people to play on our B and C teams with Rahul and Ryan. So we were going to have some really strong teams in the club. I think we win that, no doubt. However, the individual was going to be tough. I think Grant and I could take it, but I think it's more likely that we wound up in second, third, with our B team taking third place.
And so who would get first?
I think if Jacob played with Sam, they would probably win.
All right.
But I think Grant and I would get second, and Rahul and Luke in third.
All right, so you're giving Cal Poly the back-to-back individual champions, but you're getting that redemption from last year. I like it. All right, next question. What is your favorite aspect of college roundnet? Fred,
for me, it's the teams. Yeah. Wow, being on ESPN was insane, and having the other 5 A&M teams there with us, and having you there as the coach role was such an unbelievable experience. We had pretty much all of the Texas people there to just cheer us on and push us to do as well as we could. that aspect is so much fun in my mind.
Yeah. Has Luke recovered from getting aced on television? To the
So
series?
every time that video has been posted, you'll see people in the Instagram comments, people in the Twitter comments just rip Luke. Every time we ever find any comment ripping Luke, we go, we copy it, we screenshot it, and we post it in the group media. It's happy. Yeah, no, he's still not over it. He won't be over it until we win a national title as a club.
All right, I hope that's driving him. Jacob, what's your favorite aspect of college roundnet?
Oh gosh. Honestly, just because the West Coast teams haven't like really traveled out to a nationals that much. I mean, Cal Poly is like one of the first ones that did it. GCU did it, I believe, in 2017. Can't remember honestly, or 2018. But I really like the sectionals aspect of college roundnet. I loved going and getting a group of us to like head down to LA or head down to Santa Barbara or have it here. And just like the hype leading up to us all playing together and like having like all of our own squad areas and like seeing all of our friends from all the schools that are like that we know and like that we love to see them. I love that aspect of it, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you said the word hype. My favorite part of the college roundnet scene is hype. Like, people get hyped because they have like a school to get behind. They have fandom behind it, and there's just so much hype. And that's what I love about the college roundnet. All right, Noah, favorite aspect of college roundnet?
Yeah, I certainly think mine is kind of going to piggyback on yours, Logan. Just the energy and the hype that surrounds the whole thing is so special to me. It's so different than the open scene for sure. To be honest, I'll never forget us coming into 2018 Nationals at Ohio State, and we brought the most people in the entire country. And I remember us just going through our warm-ups that we did for every tournament that we went to. And I just remember kind of everybody else like stopping and looking at us and like taking pictures and just think, and like people will come up and be like, dude, that was so cool. And like that was a real special moment for me. That's something that I think, further enticed me into the sport. And I also love that aspect of it, how it brings more people into the sport in general. I think it's a really good stepping stone for getting new athletes into the sport, and I love that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that, and it was just like, going back to like 2017, even UGA doing the warm ups. Just like seeing y'all do your warm ups together, it just chills, and it's like I see that, I'm like, man, I love college roundnet because of that. So it's so fun watching, and I enjoy it. All right, I think now we're gonna go on to the bracket, and before we do that, you may not know this, but I'm pretty in touch with the multiverse. So a lot of people thought I just created this bracket out of my mind. No, I actually went and I visited some other universes, specifically one. And so these are results that happen in alternate universe where we weren't trapped inside. So this isn't just stuff I'm making up. This happened. It's the gift of being in touch with the multiverse. So I just wanted to clarify that. So we're gonna go into it. We're gonna see how it happened, and see what it was like. So let's see if I can make this work. All right, there we go. We got it. So here's the bracket. So we did a bracket challenge. We asked a lot of the college players to kind of submit brackets, and them guess what they think the results are going to be. And so here we go. We're going to go on a little by little. So first, we're gonna go C by C too. So Texas A&M versus Grand Canyon. Oh, did I do it? Oh, okay. Wait here. Gotta go here. There we go. I got A&M. I got A&M moving on. That's what happened. They beat Grand Canyon. All right, and so then moving on, Clemson over UTC. That one was that 8-9 seed's always a good game, but Clemson was able to pull it out. All right, now we're going to Cal Poly and Baylor. Now the Ohio State RoundNet guys, they did a poll recently over who would win, and Baylor upset Cal Poly. And I'm a big fan of the Baylor guys. I like them a lot. They're from Texas, obviously. Played a lot of time with them, but unfortunately, in this reality, they came up just short. All right, moving on to UGA and Notre Dame. Oh, actually, sorry, Asbury and Virginia Tech. Yeah, Virginia Tech, they got the upset there. And there's a lot of hype around Asbury. It's the first big upset of this bracket, but Virginia Tech came out to play, and Asbury just wasn't ready. So next we're going to UGA Notre Dame. I'm pretty sure that's what's next. Yeah, it is. UGA. Go Dogs. They come out on top. And then next, UCLA. We got, one of the two West Coast teams on here. I think there's only two. Yeah, Cal Poly and UCLA. And
UCU was like,
yep, they're taking out Western Kentucky. That's what happened. So, hope y'all are checking your brackets at home, seeing how it's going. All right, and then next, I will say Ohio State versus Maryland. Ohio State. Boom, they're taking out Maryland. So this first round, not too many upsets. I think really only one by seed. So that's Virginia Tech over Asbury. And then we got Northeastern and Syracuse. And again, they hold seed, and Northeastern takes them. All right, so that's the first round. Anything crazy that happened in this alternate reality?
UGA made it through? What?
Yeah.
oh gosh.
All right, so I mean, nothing too crazy so far. All right, now we're going to the next round. We got A&M versus Clemson. A&M versus Clemson. Man, y'all took it. Y'all took it, Fred. It was hard fought. I don't think you put a serve on, but somehow y'all won.
It's not about my serve, just about the other guys.
That's a fair point. That's how you won. Grant's just such a strong player, unstoppable, really. So, next, Cal Poly versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech got that upset in the first round. Cal Poly has a tendency to get upset on social media, but did they do it in the next round? Nah, they held through. Y'all held through.
Yeah.
I've seen those serves y'all have. They're too solid.
Yeah. They're not too bad.
All right. And then we got UGA, UCLA. Let's see what happens.
Ooh, that's a tough draw.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Noah, but that happened. That was a big upset. That was a big upset.
Upset. Oh
Hot
my
take.
gosh.
That's hot.
UCLA with the upset.
I don't know if it's that hot.
UCLA with the upset. We got a West Coast side of the bracket. Y'all came out strong last year. Maybe enjoyed the victory a little too much, a little too complacent, and UCLA came out. I'm sorry, that's not me. That's what happened in this alternate reality.
Yeah.
We go to the other
You
side
went
of
to
the
the
bracket.
wrong one.
We got Ohio State versus Nebraska. But you're not alone. No, sorry, not Nebraska. It's Northeastern. I apologize. Northeastern.
Nebraska out of nowhere.
Now, let me tell you. I went to several other alternate realities after this just to see what happened. Ohio State either got third or they got T5. That was the only two options in all of them. So, but this one they got T5. They lost to Northeastern. So, okay. So now we got A&M and Northeastern. Boom. A&M takes it. And then we got Cal Poly versus UCLA, West Coast. Y'all are both probably very familiar, I would assume. Played each other at plenty sectionals. You even played with Ryan last year. So there's a chance they could upset y'all. But not this time. Not this time. So we got a matchup of A&M and Cal Poly coming up in the finals. But first we'll do the third place game. Northeastern and UCLA. The 5 and the 6 seed got a couple upsets to get there. And UCLA stays hot, man. They stay hot. I think that heated match with Cal Poly really kept them warm and allowed them to upset Northeastern in the third place game. And then now we have A&M versus Cal Poly. Whole blue connect. The Ags bring home the dub.
Wow.
I didn't see it coming. I'm a big A&M fan, and I would have chosen if I could, but this is just what happened. So, you guys almost had them. You almost had them.
As long as it was well fought. It
was well fought. So there we go. Here's the bracket challenge. No bias added. It's just how it happened.
Nobody's alma mater won this one. So,
yeah,
no.
Like I said, I saw this. I didn't choose this. I just saw this happen. But
what's the score of the finals, though?
Oh, the score of the finals. So game three was actually 35-33. So it went 3 games, and this was, we'll say, A team. Came down to the third team, third game, 35-33.
It's intense.
Yeah, it was very intense.
That's fine with me, honestly. Give the people a good showing.
Yep. So there you go. There we have it. Thank you all for coming on and answering questions. We're about to transition over, and I'm going to talk to Taylor Sanford. We're going to talk some roundnet organization stuff. If y'all have any questions, you're in college, you want to learn a little bit more, I would encourage y'all to reach out to these guys. Noah Luskus with UGA, Jacob Payer with Cal Poly, and Frederick Hinkle with A&M. These guys have some solid clubs. They've built some awesome programs, and they're just going to keep growing. And if you can always ask me questions as well with college. And then I'm getting word from up top that I need to announce that Gus Gonzalez actually won the bracket challenge. He was able to. He got the closest. There were no perfect brackets except mine. Mine was perfect.
That's because you picked UCLA over Georgia.
Whoa, still.
Logan moves to California for like 2 months and has the West Coast vibe.
Either way, Gus Gonzalez won. Congratulations. Yeah, maybe that West Coast bias is already leaking into my veins. I don't know what's happening. Or maybe I'm just going crazy from being inside. Who knows? But thank you all for being on. We're going to take a quick few minutes break. I'm going to get Taylor on, and then we'll be right back. And like I said, reach out to these guys if you have any questions. Hope y'all are enjoying. We'll be back in a sec.
Gig 'em.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, we are back. I'm here with Taylor Sanford of Utah Roundnet. He's built one of like the best roundnet organizations in the country. He's here, new Taylor. It's like a new person. I love it. So we're just gonna
down here. I lost it up here.
love it. We're just gonna be talking a little bit about building roundnet clubs, roundnet organizations, and what it looks like to kind of, I like to use the term, make a business of roundnet a little bit. Both of us has kind of built roundnet organizations, and Utah's just crushing it right now, and y'all are growing so much. So excited to have you answer some questions and us just talk a little bit. And we'll kind of start building up. We'll start with building a club, building like a local group, and then building that up to a full-on organization. And everyone wants to know how do they get to the point where they can buy a Spike trailer? I think that's what everyone really wants to know. So
That's the goal.
yeah. So let's start out, and I'll kind of ask you, and I'll ask you a question, then I'll answer it from my point of view as well. But Utah Roundnet, kind of how did it come about, and what do the beginning stages of Utah Roundnet look like?
Yeah, it was quite a journey. So I bought my first Spikeball set back in 2012, And for 6 years, I was taking on camping trips and playing at backyard barbecues. I was just teaching new friends how to play, and I loved it so much, but like never had that competition. And so there was one trip I took the spring of 2018, and I finally said, I have had enough of this. I'm going to start a league. Sports have been my life. At the time, I played in 2 indoor soccer leagues, 2 hockey leagues, probably a volleyball league, all sorts of stuff. And so I said, what, I'm going to start a league. So summer of 2018, I worked with my local city. Honestly, they weren't that much help, but anyway, kind of ran my own league, and we had 14 people show up, and then decided, hey, I want to do some. At that point, I kind of realized, oh, Spikeball's the community is really based around a lot of tournaments, and so I thought, hey, I'm going to start some tournaments. And so I planned out a series of 4 tournaments that September of 2018 in 3 different, basically the 3 biggest universities here in Utah, and ran the 3 tournaments and then did a championship tournament for the 4th week. And we had, right off the bat, we had 30 teams at the first tournament, 43 at the second, and 63 at the 3rd tournament. And it just like, okay, yeah, this is blowing up, and we're going to see what we can do next year. And so we went gung ho. 2019 hosted 25 tournaments now.
That's awesome.
Or then, and this year we had almost 40 tournaments planned.
Wow.
So we'll see if all that work goes to waste
Yeah.
or not. But that's the history of the short history of Utah Roundnet.
Yeah, that's great. And I that's kind of what I've heard from a lot of people as well. It's that, hey, I want to play games, I want to compete against people, and there's nothing here around it. That's such a spark. And when the right person gets a hold of that spark, it creates something pretty awesome. And even with Texas, it was something very similar. Like I've always referred to Texas as like a roundnet island, because the kind of the states around us didn't have a whole lot going on for the longest time. And I've been playing for a while, always wanting to compete, and there were always the people within Texas. And that's how when Brian and I started Taser, we just wanted to take the format that kind of Spikeball has, where it's like, let's create these hubs, these groups of people with these tournaments. And I know people all across the country because of Spikeball and roundnet. And so we wanted to create something like that. And that's where we created our hub system, which we've been excited to see a lot of different states kind of pick up and adapt that as well. And let's create these groups in Texas and then connect them and host tournaments. And we'd host tournaments. I hosted tournaments for a while. I never really knew if I could get a whole bunch of people. And then in 2018 was kind of a similar year for me, where we hosted a few tournaments. Like, okay, hey, we can get enough people playing. And so then 2019 we had our first official series and everything, and similarly had a lot planned for 2019, and hopefully we can still get it all out, but we'll see what happens. But yeah. I think that desire to like, hey, I want to compete against people, and that spark to make it happen. Now, getting people into the system, what do y'all do to kind of get people to come to your tournaments, get people to come in leagues? And when you first started, what was kind of your, I know you said in 2019 or in 2018 you had 30 at your first tournament, but how did you get people to come, and kind of what was your goal for numbers on those tournaments?
Yeah, so the first year I didn't know. I mean, so I had actually went to a tournament. Actually, you came through Utah, June of 2018. That was my first competitive scene.
Awesome.
I went there for research. I'm like, I got to see what's out here before I start doing a league. Like I don't even know where I fall into this. And so I didn't know. They had, I think, 24 teams at that tournament, something like that, maybe 29. So when I started it, like I thought, yeah, maybe 20 to 30 teams. Like I didn't know. And so when the tournaments just kind of blew up like they did, even that first tournament, that's an hour and a half away out of Salt Lake City. It's a college town in Logan that is
sounds like a good city.
very very limited, and people have to travel. So to get 30 up there for a first tournament was great. I mean the biggest key how I started it was with that league was I ran like 3 I think preseason pickups where I just hosted it same day, same time, 3 weeks in a row, put it on the Spikeball app, And just got people into the repetition of this is what I'm doing on a Wednesday night or whatever night works best for you. And that really is what helps people come out consistently. It's when people kind of plan, oh, last minute, hey, who wants to play Spikeball tonight? And then they get 4 people, they throw it on the app, and people have 2 hours to decide if they can go or not. I hear a lot of people doing that, and they're like, how do I get people to keep showing up? It's like, you got to have a set time. You got to be able to make it consistent so people know what to plan on. Just like any other league, it's generally people sign up for maybe not a specific time, but a certain day. Like my indoor soccer, it was a certain day of the week, and that's how people can plan on it. So consistency is the key, especially as you're growing. Doing clubs is different. I know Texas, I mean, you guys are so spread out. It's a whole nother animal. So your hub system, really works with that. You've got to have tournaments, 3 hours away from another person, which is crazy. Utah, we're really blessed that, I mean, everything's within about an hour and a half of each other.
That's great.
Outside of St. George. But it's just, getting people just in every city. Like I've got a club captain list of probably about 40 to 50 people between high school, college, and then just general public. And everyone, I just tell people, just get it on the app, make it so people know what to plan on. And that's how your club's going to grow.
Yeah. And I mean, I just want to hammer home consistency is key. That's like whenever someone asks me like, hey, how do I build a club? How do I start this off? How do I build an organization? Like consistency. That's how you get people coming back is they know where to go. They know when to be there on a consistent basis week by week. And that's one of the big things with our hubs is like we try to require 2 hub meetups a month at least just to keep enough for people to coming back in the same place, same time, whether it's every week or every other week, just so people know and it becomes familiar. And so they can be like, yeah, I go play roundnet on Saturday mornings, and that's what they do. So consistency is huge for anyone, whether you're building a college club or an organization. That's one way to do it. Now, is Utah Roundnet an official LLC? Are y'all an official business? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So that's really great to hear. And for me personally, I get excited when I hear that because I think more like official businesses within the roundnet community are going to help grow. It like basically builds the roundnet economy, if you will, and Taser's the same way. So I was curious about that, and I assumed, but I just wanted to know.
Yeah, and I've been a big advocate of for-profit tournaments and tournament directors. I know, a lot of people complain that, oh, you're not giving this out as, $500 in prize money. But the tournaments to the general public for all but the top team, for the other, 29, 39, 49 teams, it's a better tournament for someone who is motivated to put on the best tournament experience they can. When you've got, all that money goes to, the winner, that's great for the winners and they get to travel and go do tour stops. And obviously, we want to give prizes and Spikeball's great as a sponsor. They give out prizes and we have some other sponsors as well. But being able to have a tournament director who's motivated to not play, that's the first thing is you can't, if you want to put on a really good tournament, like for the most part, you can't, you got to be there to host the tournament. I've only played in, I think, 3 of my own tournaments. And when I do, it costs me $100 to play because I have to pay someone else to do my job. So, anyone else who wants to complain about a $30 or $40 team entry fee, it costs me $100 to play in my own tournament. But that's, you mentioned the Spike trailer, and that's kind of been the cherry on top right now where we're at. But I've got that thing stuffed full of 40 pro sets, a branded Spikeball Utah Roundnet canopy, the flags in the ground. We basically put on mini tour stops here, and some of them not even that many. I was really hoping to hit the tournament that was scheduled for last Saturday. I kind of expected or had a goal to hit triple digits on that tournament. But anyway, that's what happens is I put on hundreds of hours of work over this past off season and planning. And again, when you have a tournament director who's motivated, financially, that things like that happen and it benefits the community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with that. And having that, and like right now, Brian and I, same thing. Like we want a for-profit business, and um, the whole prize thing is something that I've kind of thought before, and I think there is a place for it. But when you're giving all the money out, like none of it can go back into the business, and I think it's so important. Is these individual tournaments, like building the caliber of them and creating awesome events, and Spike's our example, and like that was part of our budget, kind of summer for us as we were planning on buying a trailer in the summer. So hopefully events can happen and we can still do that. But that was on our 2020 goal, and then like putting money back into doing an awesome stream for Texas Nationals, which our tournament at the end of the year. That's something we want to do as well, and just create some cool streaming and testing some things out, and putting that money back into the business, and building the community, even like rewarding yourself. Like I think that's okay to host tournaments and make some money off of it, and eventually like we want to see people have these jobs where like their job is running these organizations and their job is a round net job, and they're making full-time money and not being a part of Spikeball. That's such a cool thing,
Yeah.
and that means the sport is growing, and there's um there's this economy, that's good for the sport. And so I'm a big fan of that, and I think that's a great way to do it. And so hopefully more people start to pick that up, and I know people have taken some stuff from Taser and applied it, taken some stuff from Utah Round and applied it, and I think people will start to build up, and there'll be more and more, and some really awesome things will happen. And then
I love it when people reach out to me,
yeah,
and ask, hey, how do I do this? Most recently, I was talking to the Ohio Round Net guys, and I mean, I was super impressed with, kind of their goals, and I hopped on a phone call with them, and just kind of got into the very top level stuff for about 30 minutes, and then I had to run. But some of the guys, like you got to have that someone who has the motivation to do it. Like it's not terribly difficult. It's a lot of work. It's not difficult, and I think anyone that has a marketing mind, and can kind of plan out events and has that dedication can make it happen. So yeah, same way, just encouraging everyone who wants to do it. Last year, I went to eight tour stops outside of the Utah one. Paid for all of it through the tournaments I did, with some to spare to keep running the company. And again, just to motivate anybody, I made enough money last year, more than I ever did in any college job. And in now maybe 3 years with this delay, I'm planning on this will be my full-time career.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. And that's exciting to hear. And I think that's really just shows like how much the sport is growing and how much potential there is. And I don't think people necessarily see that, but if anyone has a motivation right now and you start doing it, like this is you can make a legit full-time career out of this. If you put the work into it, you build the structure, you learn from people who are doing it and then improve. You could build a full-time career out of this in then 3 or 4 years, like you're saying as well. And y'all are doing an awesome job.
And how much fun would that be, right? I mean,
For sure.
Again, it's a lot of work, but like whenever I do too much Utah Round Net stuff, and my wife, asks for my help, I say, oh, I'm working, so I can't help with the kids. And it's great, because I don't know what else I would rather do, staying up till midnight, 1 a.m., but planning out a season and doing graphics and all the tedious work that comes with it. But just that payoff of showing up to a tournament and just having 100 to 200 people just there for you, and just coming up saying, oh, this is an amazing tournament, thank you so much for everything you do. I mean, I get that every time, and it's just like, that's just the biggest payoff.
Yeah,
for me.
it really is such a huge payoff, and just the relationships you develop and the new people you meet, and just like all of our hub leaders, all of the people participating in hubs, and just seeing the people. And I mean, I'm sure you feel a lot of pride when you see Spikers Anonymous having success, because they're participating in your system. What you're building is making them better. Like when people build these, like it's making the players better, and it's increasing the sport level there. It's like I want to see people in Texas. I want to see the newer players get better, and I want to see the top players become the best. And whenever the Texas players have success, like I just feel so much pride. I'm excited for them, and it's awesome. So it's awesome to see, and there's so many benefits to it. And that's just one thing I want to stress is I want people to see this as an option. Like, hey, get these things started. Let's build this stuff. And It's exciting to see. And then I know one thing that you're really passionate about that's a big part of Utah Roundnet is high school Roundnet. So I just kind of want to get your thoughts. I won't ask you any specific questions about it. You just can kind of talk about it, but just high school Roundnet and everything you've done. Like want to hear you talk on it.
For sure. Yeah, like I say, I mean, high school was my biggest focus last year. It's still my biggest focus this year. Hopefully, we can still salvage the season before the new school year starts. But just like any other sport, I kind of set that foundation for the general public. We were big enough to put on tournaments there. And after a few tournaments, anytime I noticed somebody was still in high school, I try to get their contact information, or at least I guess take notes of where they were from because I had it from their sign up. But just reach out and say, hey, will you be your school captain? And I slowly did that, and obviously those first few months, it was during the winter, didn't have a whole lot. Our first high school tournament had 9 teams. Okay, it's okay to start out small. First tournament had 9 teams. Second tournament had 10 teams. Third tournament had 16, and then finally state championships had 35 teams from 14 different schools.
Actually, I want to pause you real quick and jump on that just because I think starting small is okay. I think a lot of people think, oh, I only had 9 teams at my tournament. Like, what's the point of doing this further? Yeah, we had like 10 teams at our first high school tournament. We had 15 at our national championship. That seems small, but those small goals grow. And if people come, if those 9 teams come and they have a great experience, they're going to go tell more people are going to come. So starting small and having a small first tournament is not a bad thing. It's a great start.
For sure, absolutely. And even at that first one with 9 teams, like I went into it like kind of bummed out, honestly. But then I got there and I set up, and it's like, you know what? These are 18, 20 kids. They've got their parents cheering them on. Like, they don't care. Like, everyone's like you say, as long as they're having a good time, they're going to keep coming back, and they're going to have more people. And honestly, the biggest struggle with high school in the spring is competing with other sports, which is a topic I think we'll want to get to. And so I changed that up for this year. So anyway, so that was kind of 2019. During the spring, it was cold, so got into it. And then had a whole bunch of people coming out in the summer. Again, same thing. I just took names. We started a high school captains group chat, and just to get everyone that information they need about things coming up. A little bit of trash talk, which is great. I know you were talking about the hype with the college clubs, like the hype with the high school teams. Like it's a great thing.
Absolutely.
And so went through the summer. And then we hosted West Regionals, as part of the national series we were planning on, and had, I think it was 28 teams at that as well. Again, just a great time. Right now we have, I believe, 25-ish captains throughout Utah, just in high school. Awesome. And so it's great. And we were thinking, man, if we can get 2 teams from every school at each of these 8 tournaments we had planned, that was 50 high school teams, and that's super definitely possible. When you have 25 captains alone, that's 1 team from each school, and we just need to get 1 more. So it can grow, and it takes again, a lot of work, a lot of communications, and patience. Just keep at it. Don't give up after putting together a small tournament. It's fine.
Yep, and I think the more these clubs grow, the more legitimate it looks. And Fred even said in the chat, a 15-team high school tournament means they have 100 people playing in their friend group. And I think that's a good point where if you're getting 15 people coming, that means they're not just playing with only themselves. There's a lot more people that are playing, and they're playing with people at their school. And we had our high school state championship coming up, and there was a lot of people kind of talking trash, like the good kind of trash talk, and hyping it up a little bit, and it was exciting, and it's starting to form and develop. And I think you guys in Utah are y'all are setting the gold standard for high school roundnet right now, which is really cool, and it's starting to develop. And even as we've connected with a bunch of roundnet organizations and created it, it's shown that this high school sport is starting to develop. And I think really it seems a little ironic, but I think when it starts to form in high school, that's when a real legitimacy develops around the sport. Because if people are playing in high school, they're having clubs, they're competing. And then one of my favorite parts about like the whole roundnet organization is developing this like competitive funnel, I like to call it. So Fred, who talked earlier, like he's done a great job for high school roundnet, and he's always out there recruiting. And when I say that, I mean recruiting, trying to get high schoolers to come to A&M and trying to get people. But it really does create this funnel of high schoolers are play, and then in Texas we do the Texas Top 100, which is like a list of the top 100 players in Texas. So that kind of gives people some drive. But you see where these competitive players are, like where they are in high school, moving up to college, and then eventually like graduating and being part of the bigger scene. And it all starts with high school and becoming that competitive player and forming that club and developing through that funnel. And just talking about the funnel gets me so excited because I think that's a huge part of growing the sport.
Yeah, I love that. I'm pretty sure it was you guys. I think it was Texas A&M, right, who did the college signing day.
Yeah.
That was so cool to see. And I know, someone in the what you were talking with the college guys, in the chat, they were talking about, at what point do people start looking towards the college clubs as to where they go to college. But you're right. And, when it comes to, making Spikeball or roundnet more of a legitimized sport, more mainstream, it has to start younger. I kind of saw roundnet as okay, I'm out of high school, I'm not good enough to play college sports. Okay, let's pick up Spikeball because I can do that. And if we can get people to get into roundnet in high school, join their team, the goal is to get them out of and not choose roundnet over soccer, basketball, baseball, whatever it is. I think that's the long and hopefully more short-term goal.
Yeah.
Get people to choose roundnet over those other mainstream sports. And we had one guy here in Utah. I was just talking with him, and he mentioned that he told his soccer coach, like, "Hey, I'll play soccer, but Spikeball comes first."
That's awesome.
And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that is the first time I've heard that, and I am so excited." And he's part of the. I know there's a few teams that were kind of going at each other for trying to take the high school nationals, and that was Tim on the Swerve and Spikeball.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if we can get people to choose roundnet when they're young, that's just, we're going to reach a whole new level.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I would say even if you are looking, if you have an organization or you're looking to run a high school tournament, like for me, really the minimum starting off is like, hey, as long as we have 5 teams, I'm going to run this event because like it's small and it's going to grow. And obviously if you're running 10 5-team tournaments a year, you can do that's a little small. But I say if you run 2 or 3, like they're going to start growing. Don't let a number that's small at this point where the sport is deter you when it comes to, I mean, you could even say in any level, depending on the area of your sport. Right now, I think for where we are, high school is kind of like that newer level. But for a lot of people, the open scene is where high school is like for us. There's not a whole lot of people play. So don't let those small numbers when you're first starting off deter you, because you get 5 teams there. Those people are going to play. If they have a good time, if you focus on their experience and they have a good time, they're going to go tell other people. The next time you host an event, you're going to get some more. And people are going to hear about it, and the sport's going to grow between that time. I mean, Spikeball is doing a lot of work to grow the sport, obviously. So that's a whole lot of marketing you don't even have to do. So if you're hosting events and time is passing, more people are going to know about your events just because they're learning about the sport. But when you're first starting off, and right now, like it applies to high school for us, the tournaments are smaller, but they're going to grow. If you're looking to put on high school tournaments, don't let 5-10 teams deter you. Like that's great. And if you're an open division, like first tournament in your area, 5-10 teams, that's great, and it's only going to grow. I do want to go to one question in the chat Ian Timmon had, just kind of about where the money from hosting, we're talking about how it is, how we think in 3 to 5 years it will be a potential career for one to have. He kind of asked, where's the money coming from hosting tournaments or merch sales? And then people kind of make a statement that tournaments are expensive to host and not lucrative, or it's not a good way to make money, but that's how we grow the community, and it's a cost that's worth it. I would say for us as independent tournament directors, we certainly have to frame hosting tournaments in a different way than Spikeball. Obviously, there's a lot of marketing that goes into those and framed differently, but for us, I think I've seen a lot of times where people are pricing tournaments at $10 a registration or something like that, where they're pricing themselves out of making a profit. But once you start getting connections with cities, you start knowing where you're going to go. You can start to make basically a budget where you can like, okay, this is how much an event's going to cost me. I'm going to be paying this much for a field. If I charge this much for registration, and we have this many teams, this is what's going to be, and you can map out and see what your profits are. For us, the majority of profits are tournament sales, registrations. We make some from apparel. We'd probably make more, but to be frank, we're not that great at social media. We're trying to get a marketing intern at some point when this is all over to kind of do some marketing for us, because Brian and I are good at the operations and back end stuff, but marketing we could be better at. And so for us, it's those tournament registrations. And what we like to do is we like to set a base price, and then we throw some discounts to our hubs. That way it encourages people to join hubs. And then like our top players that qualify for the Lone Star Roundnet Club, they get discounts. So we look to kind of give some discounts for people who are part of the system, and then have people come in and play. And if you look at like adult sports leagues, people are they're paying so much for those, and they're enjoying them. That's just where the market is. And I think a lot of times we're pricing ourselves way under market value. And so that makes it hard to make a profit. But if you look at the market and you see what people are paying for sports, I think sometimes we need to kind of change who we're marketing to. At Taser, we're not necessarily looking to like, hey, let's market and let's get the people who are in the Spikeball community to play. We want those people to play. We want those people to be a part of our system. But we want to bring people who are already playing city sports. We want to play people that are in the young adult to older adult to like high school range. We want them to come in if they're not playing the sport. And so we're looking for them. Like, okay, what are they willing to pay? Like, we're not trying to pay some crazy amount to make them go broke, but like, okay, they're willing to pay this. Let's charge that so that we can make an awesome business and make better sports.
Right. I mean, I don't know the last time I participated in any other sport, whether, league or not, that I didn't pay less than $75 playing that. Again, that's for a league, not a one-day event, but it's about the same amount of time. I mean, it's an hour for 6 to 8 weeks versus 6 to 8 hours in one day. But I'm with you. When I see people doing $10 a team tournaments, like my stomach just sinks, because I hate when people price themselves out and then, see other people, they're waiting for that. Particularly I see these, our university intramurals, which, they're not there to make money because they have funding from the university, and they're doing $5 a team. It's like, great, I have to compete with that now. But yeah, I mean, same thing for us. We get it all through tournament fees. I make swag. Anyone wants to buy, you don't get one that says Mr. Utah Roundnet. You get one that says Utah Roundnet. And I try to just pen out even and on all our swag budgets, just to make enough for the next batch. More money is based on the tournaments and just getting people to come, and that's where, again, it's important to cater to the masses and not just to the top players. A lot of people, I had some, people ask, how do you get people to keep coming? And it's not like the top players, they're great. We need them. They're great promotions for the sport. But if you demolish the new people coming in, then the new people don't want to keep coming back. Okay, like I have a bad habit now of on my competitive side of playing down to other people, because people come to a pickup game, I bail on my friends that I already know, and I want to go play and go meet these other people, because I'm into growing the sport and growing our community, which then leads to friendships, community, and some financial benefits as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it's also I'm just going to put this link into the chat. You mentioned working with Parks and Rec. This year we had almost 20 tournaments partnering with local cities that I didn't have to pay any field rental, because I built up a community, so they knew me. I've kind of actually monopolized the sport here in Utah. Whereas cities last year, there have been some cities in the past that they've done their tournaments for their July 4th festivities and whatnot. And last year they tried to do it and nobody showed up because it wasn't Utah Roundnet. So all the cities pretty much know that they now have to partner with me, which is great, because I get the marketing through them, which is the new people people who are maybe intimidated by a big tournament. And, we're going into these cities and saying, hey, we'll run this tournament. I do the same thing. I give, their local residents a discount on it to do with the city. And then anyone else who's traveling in who doesn't know that discount code, they pay full price.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a lot of things that the page I just shared just talked about. That's what I sent out to all the Parks and Rec directors in Utah.
Awesome.
I pitched to them.
And I think what's important too is let's making the events worth the money. And I think that's one thing that I know y'all do really well. And I think we do well. And it's adding so many things between our gold division, which is the Texas version of Premier, and then working with Savage Ultimate to do jersey giveaways. I know y'all work with kickball stuff to do something similar. And then the Texas roundnet system and the Texas top 100. So, and then just being engaging and having a fun time and setting up the event really well, being there early and making it feel professional, people are
Right.
willing to pay a higher price because it's worth that.
I did a survey at the end of last year. I just sent out to everyone. I had their emails, and one of the questions was what deterred you from attending more tournaments? And one of those questions was price, or one of the answers I put in there was price. There was a very minimal amount of people that selected price.
Yeah.
The people who select price are usually the people who go to a lot of tournaments because they're paying a lot. But for the people who are coming to 1 or 2 tournaments a year, they're used to that.
Yeah.
Can't be afraid of having people pay for a good experience.
And I think if you look at this sport in a more long-term view, right now a lot of the players are college age kids, and even when I started, I was college age kids. Now I'm out of college. I'm already kind of becoming this part of it, where it's these people are going to graduate, they're going to have money, and more people are going to have jobs and be willing to pay and understand. And especially as we talk high school, high schoolers are willing to pay, or then their families are willing to pay money to play in these high level sports. And as that becomes more legitimized, people are playing around it. It's seen as a more legitimate sport. It's going to become more of a reason to put money into the sport. And again, it'll pop up more organizations like ours. And then other organizations around the sport, I know y'all work with Cathedral and things like that, that will just feed into the sport and make it more fun, more exciting, and build that hype. I love to talk about the hype, but as people grow older, as the sport grows, there's going to be more opportunity for that, and it comes with growing it. And so, and I think what's important is making the event worth it, making a good event, and you can reward yourself. It's almost it's weird because it's you make money and you're building the sport, and that's what people want. It's almost if you're not charging enough, people are going to come, but you're not really building the sport. You charge enough and it builds the sport and you make money. It's a double whammy. It's you reach this threshold and go past it, and it's great. And obviously you got to have a passion for the sport. You got to have the love of the sport. Neither of us are in this for money. It'd be great to have some money with it, but we love the sport. We love building it out, and it's that passion that makes it so much fun. And like we talked about earlier, seeing what comes of it, it's so rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really just waiting for my wife to graduate law school, so that's the money, and then this is the fun. So
yeah, for sure.
But really, any college age kids who are watching this, again, my first full year doing this, I made more than I did in any. I worked full time at a bank through college, and I made more money last year than I ever did doing that. So if you want to do this, it is a great time on the weekends. It's a great experience. You're running your own business, so you're doing event planning, you're doing marketing, you're doing sales, you're doing communications. There's so many facets of it that whether you do it as a full-time career later in life or not, it's huge experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I love having it as a part-time thing, where to grow it and build it on the side. It's a lot of fun, so it's viable either way, and it's super enjoyable. And I know I am, and I'm sure Taylor is. We're happy to help anyone who wants to start an organization like this. And there's a lot of resources on Spikeball's website. I think it's in the chat. I don't know how to work all the chat and do those chat things and make things pop up, but Andrew tells me you just got to tell Night Bob and he'll make it happen. But yeah, there's a lot of resources on building a recognized roundnet organization through Spikeball, getting started, going through the process, and making it work. So that's that's a good way to start. And we're trying to build out more resources. Whether you're in the U.S., whether you're somewhere else in the country or in the world, we think it is. Oh, got a question. I guess, do you have, I know some people would ask questions on Utah Roundnet. Some people would ask, do you have any questions that you want to answer?
Well, yeah. So let me kind of touch on something.
Yeah.
Oh, dang it! Now I just lost it. Never mind. We'll go to the questions. So, yeah, one of the biggest things is kind of starting out. I know we kind of just got to a big crescendo of, oh man, this could be a career type of thing, but a lot of people just how to get people to show up consistently. And again, I know we touched on it, hosting consistently, but your attitude as a club leader, as an organization leader, whatever it is, you need to cater to the masses. That's the biggest thing I focus on is the top guys. They should, the Utah at least, our guys are great, and Church and Stokes and Chandler, like these guys, they always, every pickup, they'll take off a couple of games and they'll go teach somebody some things. They'll help answer, and hopefully all the top level players around the country and around the world, they have that kind of that heart to teach it, and they know that they should know that growing the community is going to help them because it gives them more competition and everyone gets better. So hopefully everyone has that mindset to take care of the new people coming in and get those friendships. And the biggest thing that I always hear, and we do, player spotlight of, what do you love most about Spikeball? And it's the, I mean, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for me, that saying, oh, these tournaments are awesome, but it's the friendships that they're building. And we played over the winter. We have a indoor facility, and my favorite part about that was afterwards we go to McDonald's at 1 a.m. And hang out for another hour. Anyway, so hopefully everyone's communities build and they gain those friendships and relationships too.
And I think that actually one of the questions in the chat was, what do you think the best way to grow the sport is? And I think that really ties in with that question. I think community is so foundational to Roundnet and just the way it started. And I think that is a great way to build a sport, is building these communities, building these relationships with the people who are playing. And the more you build it and the more you're connected, you're not just playing a sport, you're hanging out with friends. I mean, the people I've met through Texas, from when I started, I've met so many people in Texas. I've met so many people around the country, and these relationships are awesome. And honestly, that's what keeps me coming back. I love the competition and I love the playing, but if I didn't like the people, the competition and the playing wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost going to get to me where you're going to be past your prime pretty soon here, and you're not going to be at that. So
I'm fighting.
I never got that. Before I got into competitive, I'd already passed my prime, and so I was kind of like, well, I guess I'll run a tournament instead.
Yeah, so. I'm fighting it as much as I can, trying to keep grinding. But yeah, I think the community and building those communities around whether it's your city, whether it's your state, whether it's your country, building those is so huge to growing the sport. And I think it's so important with that. And if you can put a structure around building those communities, I think that's where it takes off. And that's really all either of us done, is we're just putting structures around building this community and figuring out, okay, how can we make it happen? So
yeah, like you say, Spikeball, they put in, I mean, they're doing so much marketing. People are playing in their backyards and at parks, not now, but all the time outside of right now. And like my goal was just to grab all these. I've literally been driving my car, seen some people playing at a park. I've pulled over and I've run over to them to tell them to get on the Spikeball app so they know about pickups and tournaments. And that's what it is. You're just trying to, collect everyone who is playing into an organized community.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think we're going to be wrapping up here. Do you have any last thoughts, anything you want to cover or touch on before we kind of close it down here or reaching that ending mark?
No, I think we pretty much covered. There's a few random questions that I'll just answer on our Utah Roundnet Instagram. So feel free at Utah Roundnet if you want to follow us there. Hopefully May 30th, Utah Tour Stop. Apparently that's the first scheduled one now because Dallas is canceled.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get it in Utah.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah, UtahRoundnet.com, at UtahRoundnet, TexasRoundnet.com, at TexasRoundnet. Pretty easy to find. Reach out to us, take a look at our sites. If you have any questions, reach out to either of us. We're happy to help. And again, I think you can do things in the chat and figure it out there. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this. A lot of information, a lot of good stuff. And if you're looking to grow your club or looking to build an organization, I think you got some good information here, and I hope you enjoyed it. So we'll see y'all next week for, I don't actually remember what next week is. It's the next, whatever the next Spike at Home series is. It's either Trippy Lizard or it's defense with
it's highlights. Highlights with
okay.
Trippy Lizard.
Highlights with Trippy Lizard. They're doing some awesome stuff, and I know Card is putting in some work, learning a lot of cool stuff with just roundnet design. So that's
shout out to Trippy for some of the stuff that they've put out. It's been killer.
It's gonna be awesome. So that was I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun. So hope to see y'all next week, and I hope y'all enjoyed this. And hopefully we get all spiking soon.
All right.
See y'all later.